Alright, this is the latest project in the shop right now. It's a newer Camaro, 4th gen. It's got, you can tell by the exhaust sticking out, got big ass turbo on this thing, and the passenger side header over here is very badly burning one of his spark plug boots. You can kind of see it right there underneath that middle bolt head. It's a driver's side header that they flipped over here to get work, and so I'm going to be building a custom one for this side so he doesn't burn that and only run on 7 cylinders. So yeah, I gotta pull his little catch can here and get it up out of the way, and all his wiring harness and everything like that, just to give me a little bit more room through there. And then yeah, I gotta disconnect his battery and stuff too, because it's always a good idea to do that when you're welding on a car. So yeah, got a bunch of tubing and everything here for him, and his merge collector sitting there, and stainless flange and everything. So yeah, it's just basically an adult Lego kit. Just gotta start cutting and piecing things together. Okay, so I ended up not pulling all the wiring and stuff out of the way. I started unhooking it and everything, and it's just gonna be a little bit more hassle. So I just put some zip ties around it to get it up out of the way. And yeah, you can see this one here is, it's kind of hard to tell, but yeah, it's pretty cooked boot, and the other ones aren't much better. Back towards the back cylinders, I was underneath the car looking, and there's actually like probably about a 1/16 inch of gap between the header flange and the head on the surface of the head where it made it up to. So it wasn't even sealing anywhere near what it needed to be. Come over here and look at the gasket, and pretty much all the bottom of it all the way along is all blown out. So this thing was not sealed like at all. Come over and look, and yeah, you can see the cobbled mess on the OT sensor there, but yeah, it was definitely not sealing. Kind of funny here, it actually looks more like it was blown out along the top, but I don't know, it was not sealed. So we're gonna take and get something I would hope looks a lot better than this. So I got this header flange, and I had to take and grind out the inside of it all the way along, and all these ports a little bit, because it's a flame cut or plasma cut flange, and it's slightly undersized, so I wanted the tube to fit snug in there, and yeah, it fits pretty good now. So time to start building. All right, got a little bit ahead of myself. Forgot that I was trying to film a bunch of this stuff. So got the cross pipe over here. Had to cut it right through there just to change this angle up and get this collector to move back more. So what I did is I took and got that tacked back together just loosely where I think it's gonna end up. But then I've got the collector and stuff tacked on to the V-band flange there. And then it's just a matter of piecing together tubing and running it down into the collector. So I got one more tube to tack in place here. Then I'm gonna cut all the tubes off and weld them up individually. And then I will take and slide them back up in there, tack them to this flange here, and then I will make sure that the ends of them are flush and get this collector tacked on it in the proper location. And if I gotta cut that apart and modify it again to make it end up where it needs to be after these are all welded and any warpage that happens to them, then I'll tackle that then. But that was why I just tacked that down there and didn't fully weld it out. So basically just starting with a bunch of, let's say over here, just started with a few of these U-bends. This is 1 5/8" for this header. And you basically just kind of cut them apart and start piecing them together where they need to go. So I just use my little portable bandsaw over here that's in a stand, and just go through and chop them apart. And then you don't have to, but I hit them with this little belt sander that I just got clamped in my vise with a 60 grit belt on it, and just to flatten them out to eliminate any gap between the two tubes. And then another thing too, sometimes tubing ends up being a little bit oval through the mandrel bends, so I just take and sit it on the piece of wood and tap it with a hammer to get the oval back out of it. And yeah, just basically a big puzzle, just kind of piecing together and connecting the dots. All right, so just went through and welded up all these tubes and stuff. I pulled it out of the car, busted these off the header flange, and then just got them welded up. This one just got finished, and it's cooling off at the moment, but then I'll take and throw it back in the car. I've got the flange already bolted back up with a new gasket under it. It's down there. And then yeah, once those are cool, take and put those tubes back in there, position them as well as I can, along with the collector flange. But I'll probably put those tubes in first and get them all lined up on the end, and mark the end and trim all the tubes flush, because then this little star thing gets welded in between all the 4 tubes where they meet up inside the collector, kind of like that. There'll be one more tube here. Those will that'll get welded up. I'll show you kind of on the old header. A little star there, right there in between the 2 tubes. God, that thing's nasty in there. But yeah, you weld that in, and then you can go along and just weld up these edges, and that'll seal it up, and yeah, keep it from leaking. So all right, been welding this thing up. Hang on, I'll turn this off. Fan's kind of loud. Been welding this thing up though. It's coming along pretty well. I just got it taped off and stuff, just waiting on it to cool down real quick. And then the next step is to weld. There's a little tiny seam up in there still, but I gotta reconfigure that block off. I got it back purging right now, but I gotta block it off somewhere else and feed it in and tape that off closer so I can get to it. And then I still gotta weld all the way around here. I've got a plate down here with LS header flange bolt pattern drilled and tapped into it, so I can bolt this flange down flat to keep it from warping up here. So yeah, it's moving right along. I got this thing fully welded out now. This is the plate I was talking about. It's like a 1 inch thick cast iron. Got it at a estate sale one time, found it in a basement. But yeah, I took and bolt those down every time I do them to weld the flange, the tubes to the flange, just because it helps keep it flat, keep it from warping. And then the bottom weld there is the one that I had to take and do. Got the oxygen sensor bung in there too, the whole bottom side. So just letting it cool down real quick, and gonna throw it back on the car. Well, got this all back together again. Ignore the wiring, it's pretty hideous and all over the place, but I zip tied it up best I could just to get it out of the way. But it's a cobbled together thing of stock harness and a bunch of stuff. I think it's been on fire a couple times, and yeah, he's got a aftermarket setup that's getting ready to go in this. So that's all getting ripped out and everything anyway. So that's just temporary right now. But yeah, you can see the header down there. Connects right there to the crossover pipe. That weld right there is the one I just did to change the angle and shorten it up a little bit. But yeah, definitely the the least easy of the two sides, because this, you take this big like 4-inch dump tube off and this whole side's open. So this is the easy side. No wonder no one wanted to mess with this before and build them one. So yeah, turned out really good. Got tons of clearance for all the spark plug boots now and everything, and all the bolts are a lot easier to get to now. So, and it actually comes out of there easier. I was expecting to be a little bit harder because I had the V-band flange originally was like right about here, and now it's all the way down here. And I was expecting with this little loop over here for the coolant line that it was going to be harder to get out, but it actually ended up working out a lot easier, and it ends up falling out of there. So that worked out too. So yeah, and I just got to clean up a few things and stuff, and this thing will be ready to leave. So, hell yeah.